Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Sean Huggins and this is Europe with Hugs. Thank you so much for being here. I am an American looking to learn more about life in Europe through watching silly videos and stuff on the internet with you guys. And today we are going to be checking out why American trucks are worse than European trucks. This is something that is very interesting to me. The European style of trucks are so different from the American style of trucks, and yet they do the same thing. I mean, they have the same end goal, but their design is so different, and I don't know, it's just interesting. So let's waste no time and hop straight into it.
What would happen if a flat-nosed European truck and a long-nosed American truck got into a head-on collision?
Okay, this is already not what I was expecting. But anyways.
Well, the truth is that both would likely be crushed by their trailers, but that aside, the American truck driver would likely fare better due to the extra crumple zone, which is why fatal accidents involving heavy trucks are 6 to 8 times higher in America than they are in Europe.
Oh.
Wait, how does that work? The truth is that while American trucks are probably safer for the driver, by most metrics, European big rigs are more advanced, a claim backed up by many big rig drivers that have tested both, who themselves often claim that European trucks are 15 years ahead of anything in America.
15 years ahead, holy crap.
Technology that we absolutely love to integrate. We've also seen some technology that we weren't such a fan of, a lot of regulations in Europe. But overall, these guys, they are 10, 15 years ahead of us in many ways.
Today I'm going to explain why that is, not just what makes them better. Hello people of the internet, I'm Nico, a guy who wants to get every single license that's available today, from pilot's license, helicopter, to commercial driving license. And in this video I want to explain why European semi-trucks are better than American semi-trucks.
Okay. A man of many licenses.
Semi-trucks in Europe are different for many reasons, but predictably, it is mostly because of regulations on truck size. Thanks to Europe mostly maintaining its historical buildings and infrastructure, along with a much higher population density than the United States, roads have remained much narrower with more sharp turns than America's roads. This challenging environment spawned a number of innovations, including rear wheel steering. Not steering for the rear wheels of the truck, no, steering for the wheels of the trailers. Now, despite America's wide
Wait, what?
roads, because so many cities are
Hold on a second. These wheels are turning.
trailers.
Oh, dang. That's crazy.
Now, despite
I like
America's wide roads, because so many cities are comprised of grids, the sheer number of sharp 90-degree turns should already justify rear-wheel steering for trucks in America, but I have yet to see it. There are a host of other smaller innovations: legs that automatically retract, reversing lights built into the trailer, a plug for all of the electrical lines and air lines that auto-connects when you hitch a trailer, height adjustable suspension to more quickly match the height of the trailer to the truck, airbags on all 4 corners of the cab, all of which make for an easier and more comfortable operator experience, which is actually not a difference between American and European trucks. Both sides of the pond put a great emphasis on this, but approach this in drastically different ways, which I will get to later.
Okay.
The most notable difference between American and European trucks is of course the nose, or rather the lack thereof. Because of the aforementioned smaller roads, European nations opted to introduce an overall length limit for truck and trailer of about 62 feet. America used to have a similar regulation, which is why flat-nosed trucks were the standard semi-truck back in the 70s.
Oh, interesting. So it changed.
But that regulation has since been lifted, opening the floodgates for monstrosities such as this.
Yo, what is this? Dude, it's a mansion being pulled behind the cab. Like, what? Dude, this would be so crazy long to also put a trailer on the end of this. What?
While the European mind cannot even conceive of the idea that this is road legal or even good for trucking, the reason this exists is because of the key difference between trucking in America versus Europe.
Okay.
The trucking industries on each side of the pond are quite similar with the types of employment, but differ drastically in the share of self-employed versus company-employed drivers. This is generalized, but trucking in Europe is really only a day job where you drive for a company from point A to point B and back again. While there are trucking companies that may send a driver from point A to point B to point C and so on, there are more regular runs that are simply repeated to keep a supply of goods moving. And while America has a large number of these commercial drivers, there is a huge proportion of drivers that are owner-operated. So rather than having a regular delivery run, the owner-operated trucks often work individual jobs, delivering goods from one city to another, then picking up another load and driving to the next city, where another load is then delivered to the next city, often culminating in weeks or even months on the road.
Damn.
It's because of this different type of employment in the industry that causes trucks in America to be so large. The amount of space in the cab is vital, as this is their home for extended periods of time.
Wow, yeah, so they are really living in here. I mean, dang, look at this though. This is nice. Dude, this is really nice. Look at this. Wow, that's actually impressive, not gonna lie.
Plus, the extended wheelbase provides some additional ride comfort for those long highway miles.
Okay.
Driver comfort is absolutely critical for truckers in America, which makes it all the more confusing as to why American semi-trucks often lack a lot of the standard comfort features that European trucks have. That naturally begs the question, if American semi-trucks lack a lot of these comfort features, how do American semi-truck companies make the job as comfortable as possible for the truckers that make this country work? The answer is outside.
What?
This view will be familiar to most Americans. Sprawling neighborhoods, massive parking lots in front of big box stores, and unnecessarily wide arterial roads clogged full of cars due to the lack of alternative transportation options.
True.
While auto industry lobbying efforts also played a great role in the formation of this wasteland, the trucking industry helped contribute to the scale of this environment as well as the degradation of it. Over the years, semi-truck manufacturers, trucking companies, and other special interest groups have spent millions lobbying politicians to address their concerns about policies on the table. This can range across a wide variety of topics, from safety standards that would better protect pedestrians and cyclists, to environmental regulations, but a key issue that the trucking industry has been pushing for decades is car-centric infrastructure.
Right.
This goes as far back as the 19th.
Well, this is obviously a huge thing in America. Everything is centered around a car-centric society. Everything is built around cars in America.
1930s, when semi-truck maker Mack Trucks got involved in a ploy to buy up streetcar lines and remove the tracks to make room for cars, trucks, and buses, for which Mack Trucks, along with General Motors and a few other recognizable names, got sued in 1953. Naturally, this was not the last lobbying effort from the trucking industry. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the trucking industry pushed back against railway companies' lobbying efforts to minimize competition from the trucking industry. But as the years wore on, the truckers' efforts proved beneficial. In 1974, the Truck Operators Nonpartisan Committee made campaign contributions to 117 congressional candidates in both Democratic and Republican parties. And 6 weeks later, the House of Representatives reversed an earlier vote and allowed increased weight limits on interstate highways.
Whoa.
8 years later,
this perfectly explains politics in America. It's the companies and the industries that give as much money as they possibly can to politicians, and they say, this is what we want. We want the laws to be like this, and we're going to give you all of our money to do it. And then the politicians get elected, and then they do those laws. So, basically, corporations run America. Yep.
The trucking industry got another win, with the Reagan administration agreeing to increase weight limits further and overrule state limits on length and width. This of course led to roads being made wider, curbs getting pushed back at intersections to make turning easier, all of which naturally came at the cost of pedestrians and cyclist safety and the quality of life for everyone who can, but especially those who cannot drive a car. These weight limit increases also cause the roads to degrade more quickly, in extreme cases even causing these dips in the asphalt.
Oh yeah, this is very common. Yeah, American roads also suck, to be honest.
It should be noted, though, that the lobbying efforts from the trucking industry are at least in some way justified. I've seen some of the narrow turns and insane maneuvers that European truckers have to pull off to deliver goods, and the lobbying efforts here do their job to make life for truckers easier.
Okay, that is insanity right here. That is crazy. Dude!
However,
we gotta watch that one more time. Dude, look at this.
And insane maneuvers that European truckers have to pull off to deliver goods, and the lobbying efforts here do their job to make life for truckers easier.
Crazy.
However, is it really necessary to alter the entire layout of a city and compromise everyone else's safety in order to make trucking a little bit easier? Especially when Europe has showed us that there are solutions that don't compromise the quality of life for a single industry's benefits.
Exactly.
I leave that up to you to decide, but I don't see why I should live in this environment when the trucking industry could just add Europe's innovations to their own trucks, which would make the lives of truckers easier while not compromising everyone else's quality of life.
Well, I agree. But the problem is the damage is already done. This is like every road in America, like that. This is just how it is. And at this point, we're in too deep. You can't just change all of the roads in America, at least not anytime soon. It would take so much time, so much money, so much effort. And also, that's if everybody is on board with doing it, which nobody's going to be on board with actually going through with it. So it's, it's too little too late, unfortunately.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, Nico Motor. Cool video. Yeah, I mean, I think he highlighted it well, how how American politics works and how companies in America grow. They basically make a bunch of money, get to the point where they can throw millions or tens of millions or maybe hundreds of millions of dollars to politicians and say, hey, politicians, make our business make more money through passing certain laws or whatever. And then they get those people elected and then they make more money and then they make the money back that they gave to the politicians and then they just keep rinsing and repeating the whole thing. And that's America, baby. That's the American dream, as they say. But anyways, I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. What do you think of the video? Let me know your thoughts. Leave it down in the comment section below. But that being said, that's all the time that I have for today. So thank you guys so much for being here. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.